This is Yin. And these are conversations about discipline, direction, and identity, and how they quietly shape who you become. I'm super excited to bring you all this episode. Last week, I know I was a little bit out of it, so I apologize for my shitty voice. However, this week, we're going to talk about something that we've all had issues with, we all deal with on a daily basis, and something that doesn't necessarily change you, however, shows you who you truly are as a person. And that's money. You see, most people say money changes people, that when suddenly someone has more, they become different. But that's not actually what happens. Money doesn't change you, money reveals you. Because when resources expand, so do your decisions. When pressure decreases, so does the need to pretend. When options increase, your priorities become visible. And suddenly, who you actually are starts to show. The disciplined person becomes more disciplined. The impulsive person becomes more impulsive. The generous person becomes more generous. The insecure person becomes louder. You see, money doesn't create character. It removes the excuses that were hiding it, because every financial decision is a vote for who you are. And over time, those votes compound, not just into wealth, but into identity. Money reveals three things very clearly: your discipline, your identity, and your direction. And whether you realize it or not, your financial life is already telling that story. And let's get into this. Money exposes discipline faster than almost anything else, because discipline with money isn't about knowledge. Almost everyone knows what to do. Spend less than you earn. Avoid unnecessary debt. Invest consistently and think long term. You see, the information isn't the problem. The gap is between knowing and choosing, because discipline isn't tested when things are easy. It's tested when something convenient shows up, when you're tired, when you're emotional, when the short term decision feels easier than the long term one. That's where discipline actually lives. And money gives you these moments consistently: small decisions, quiet decisions, unnoticed decisions. But over time, they compound. The disciplined person doesn't win because they made one more perfect decision. They win because they made 1,000 small aligned ones. And the opposite is also true. Financial instability rarely comes from one catastrophic mistake. It comes from repeated small ones: impulse over patience, comfort over intention, short term over long term, because your financial life isn't separate from the rest of your life. It's the same person making all the decisions. And once you begin to understand that, once you realize money is revealing your discipline, something else becomes clear. It's not just what you do with money, it's how quietly you're willing to do it, because discipline doesn't show up in restraint. It shows up in patience. And patience is where real wealth begins. You see, there's a type of person who is building something real. You usually don't notice him. No announcement, no highlight reel, no post about the move they just made. They just move quietly, consistently, because the people who are genuinely building understand something that most people don't. The announcement is not the accomplishment. But today, those two things are often confused. People celebrate the move before it compounds. They signal success before it's real. They build the image before the foundation, and slowly they start optimizing for attention instead of outcomes. You buy what looks successful instead of what builds success. You celebrate early instead of compounding quietly. And early celebration has a cost because when you celebrate too early, you lower the pressure to keep building. You substitute recognition for results. And years later, the quiet accumulator is the one who actually has something, not the image, the real thing. They have assets, they have freedom. But here's where things become even more complicated because sometimes people aren't building for attention. They're earning more, they're progressing, and yet they still don't feel like they're getting ahead because there's another trap waiting, one that doesn't show up until you're already moving forward. You're making more money than you ever have, and yet the pressure is still there. The anxiety is still there. The feeling that you're not quite ahead hasn't changed. It's just wearing a more expensive outfit now. That's lifestyle inflation, and it happens quietly. Every time income increases, your life expands to match it. Better place, better car, more comfort within months. And then all the raise that you got is gone. Not because you were reckless, because you did what felt natural. And that's what makes this dangerous. It feels reasonable, but earning something and it being the right decision are two different things because slowly you lose margin. And when margin disappears, freedom disappears with it. And this is where most people make one of the biggest financial mistakes because they believe that earning more is the same thing as building wealth. But those are two completely different games. And until you understand the difference, it's possible to make more money than ever and still remain financially fragile. Income is not wealth. Income is a flow. It comes in and goes out. Wealth is what you keep. Wealth is what you build. Assets, ownership, equity. A high income with no assets is a fragile position because it's dependent on you continuing to perform. The moment something changes, everything changes. And that's not freedom. That's a well compensated obligation because wealth changes decisions. It gives you patience, it gives you flexibility, and it gives you control. Every dollar you convert into something that grows keeps working long after you've stopped. Income is the raw material. What you build with it is the point. And when you step back, you begin to see that all of this connects. Discipline, quiet accumulation, lifestyle inflation, income versus wealth. These aren't separate conversations. They're different layers of the same question. What are you actually building? Are you building a financial life or are you building a financial image? One compounds, the other quietly drains you. The people who build real freedom aren't smarter, they're more honest. They looked at what money revealed and adjusted accordingly. Not once, but repeatedly. Thousands of small decisions that compound into something real. You don't need a perfect plan. You need an honest starting point. And this is coming from someone who's made plenty of irresponsible financial decisions. However, I've also made very, very smart financial decisions and I learned from my mistakes. And since then, I now earned freedom. That's what truly matters. Not the big house, not the nice cars, not the fancy watches. What you truly should be working for, what you truly should be earning for, what you truly should be building wealth for is freedom. Because until then, you're working either a 9 to 5, or even if you're building a business, if something were to go wrong in your life currently with your job or with your business, ask yourself this: Would you be okay? Have you built freedom? Do you have a way to walk away and be okay? Think about that. Pull up your last 60 days of spending habits. Don't judge it, just observe. And then ask, what does this say about my discipline? What does this say about my identity? What does this say about my direction? And then write it down. That's your baseline. You can't change what you're not willing to look at. This is yin. If this resonated, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Not everyone, just someone who's ready. You can find Yin Worldwide Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And if you want to go deeper, visit our website at www.liveyin.com. That's www.liveyin.com. Subscribe if you're committed to the work. If not, that's fine too. This isn't for everyone. Remember, move with intention.